Hello and welcome to the Thank You for Knitting YouTube channel. This is episode number 8 of the regular podcast, so I'm back to give updates on the projects and things that I normally show you in the sort of regular episodes. So it's only episode number 8, which seems strange because I've actually done so many more videos, but a lot of them are not regular episodes, they're more topical. But the regular episodes are the ones where I just run you through my projects, show you things I finished, what I'm working on, plans, things like that, as opposed to the specific videos. So we're back for another episode number 8. So as you might have seen in my previous episode, I sort of started the new year and just cast on a million things, and that has not exactly stopped. I have a lot of WIPs going on still, so I have, I think, only one finished thing to show you from that I've finished since last time, and then primarily I've made some progress on some of the things that I was working on then, and I also have started a couple of new things since then as well. So yeah, let's go for it, and we'll start with what I have finished. So it will come as no surprise to anyone who watched my chicken video or my episode 7 previous podcast video that I have caught the sort of chicken knitting bug, and therefore it is absolutely natural that I cast on a second chicken, and this will not be my last either, but there's a couple of main reasons why I cast on this chicken. My first chicken I gifted, so Veebs, who works here, her son Otto met the first chicken and really loved it, so I sent the chicken home with him. He also named her Chickaletta Bach, so he's very happy with the chicken. The chicken has a new home, and the other reason I wanted to make another chicken is that the first chicken I knit obviously was from that kit that I got when I was in LA, and I went to the Knitting Tree LA, and therefore it was in a yarn that we don't stock here. So I knew that if I had a chicken sample around the shop and it was in a yarn that we don't carry, it would just cause more problems than doing any good, because people see samples and they want to know how to replicate them. So I knew I wanted to make another chicken in a yarn that we carry here. So I looked through all of our yarns. I will probably try some other ones as well and see how those samples go, but I really wanted the color changing look similar to the previous chicken I made. And so I wanted to see what would happen if I held 2 strands together of the Zauberball, the Shawl Zauberballs. The ones we carry are the Zauberball Crazy, which are the more marled colors. And it's like a long, slow kind of color change. So I wasn't sure what would happen if I held 2 strands together, if the color changes would get too muddy. But I am very pleased with how my chicken came out. So I used just one ball of the Zauberball, and I pulled 1 strand from the middle and 1 strand from the outside, which can get a little bit messy, so you have to be careful, but I did manage to do it and it was totally fine. And I didn't quite use up 1 ball to make this whole chicken, so I thought that was really good. And then I just used some Ashford DK in this red and kind of mustard yellow color for the facial bits, which we are going to plan to wind off some small little amounts of that yarn so that we can make little packs for people for the chicken. We also recently got in safety eyes here in the shop. We didn't have them before, but we recently got them in, and there's different colors, I think green, gold, and blue, and just plain black. And there's 3 different sizes of eyes as well. So I used the safety eyes that we have here. So we might put together little packs just for the red and the yellow and the eyes, or maybe we'll put together bundles with the Zauberball as well, I'm not sure. But needless to say, all you need to make this chicken is 1 ball of Zauberball and then whatever you need for the face. So yeah, very happy with this chicken. And I also, I normally stuff my animals with polyfill, or, well, actually I've been using my pure wool stuffing, but I'm nearly out of it. Another option would be polyfill, but I actually had a big box of little scraps of yarn that I've been shoving in there for years when I have little ends left over from projects. So I just had a massive buildup of old scraps, and I managed to fill this whole thing with scraps from scraps from home and also scraps we were collecting at the shop. So I like that this one is just full of scrap yarns. So that's my chicken. What else do I want to say? Oh yeah, I don't even know if I said this is the emotional support chicken pattern. The designer is Annette Corsino. She's the owner of the Knitting Tree LA. I went down a needle size for this one, or a couple of needle sizes, because I knew the yarn was going to be a bit thinner. 2 strands of 4-ply, and it's a sort of a thin 4-ply, and I just didn't want it to be gappy at all, so I used a 3.5 millimeter needle, which is a US 4, and otherwise I followed the pattern exactly. So this chicken is probably a little smaller than the original, and that is due to my smaller yarn and my slightly smaller gauge. But I think the pattern still worked out. The color of Zauberball that I used is 2623 Early Bird. It's just like mostly shades of blue and then little bits of brown. That's my favorite part down there. There's like some orangey, purpley brown. But yeah. Emotional support chicken number 2. And I mean, it took less than a week to knit. These are very quick. So that was fun. And again, it won't be my last. So I hope you're not sick of chickens yet, because there will be more. Okay, so that is it for things that I have finished, and everything else that I'm going to talk about are just updates on some of the WIPs that I've shown before, and then new cast-ons. So I'm not going to go into great detail, and I'm not going to talk about anything that I haven't made any progress on. I'm just going to quickly show some things where I've made a little bit of progress since the last time. Oh, before I get too far, I should probably mention what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing a proper piece of knitwear, but I did just throw on a little accessory to have something knitted on. This is my Earthshades cowl pattern. So this is a pattern that I put out several years ago, and this is kind of a better look at how it looks. So it's all done in brioche stitch, and you're alternating sections of how you do the dominant color. And I used 1 skein of Spincycle dyed in the wool and 1 skein of Brooklyn Tweed Peary, which are only 50 grams. So again, Peary, I've talked about that yarn before, it's discontinued, but it's just a 100% 4-ply merino, and that was just a plain black color. And then the Spincycle is doing all the fancy color work, and this color is Shades of Earth, which is one of my all-time favorite colors of Spincycle. So yeah, just 1 skein of dyed in the wool, 1 skein of something else 4-ply, and you can make an Earthshades cowl. So that's what I'm wearing. Okay, back to my sort of WIPs and the progress I've made. So I've made a little bit of progress, barely any, so not much to see on this one, but this is my Everyday Fade. Nope, this is my Everyday Sweater, DRK Everyday Sweater by Andrea Mowry, Wherein I Knits. I haven't made a ton of progress, but I've started going down one of the arms, and it's looking good. And I've just got some try-on cords in there because I was trying it on, and yeah, I'm very pleased with how it's going. However, I'm going to set it aside for a little while, mainly because some of my other projects that I'm working on are connected to knit-alongs that I'm doing, or they are for the shop, or they just have a bit more urgency. This one has absolutely no urgency. I really, really love it, but I don't need to knit it now. So I'm going to probably not make a lot of progress on that until, you know, later on when I finish a few other things. But yeah, that is just being made in 100% Spincycle dyed in the wool in our custom shop colorway, Miss Rumphius, which is just, I love that colorway. It was my dream colorway. You know, I helped design it with them, so I couldn't be more pleased with it. And I have been wanting, yeah, just a plain sweater that can just show off our beautiful colorway. So very excited to eventually finish and wear this. Again, I'm not super urgent about it. It's still kind of hot here, so I don't really anticipate wearing it much anytime soon. So that'll go on the back burner until a little bit later, but that is my DRK Everyday Sweater. Okay, another one that I have made pretty decent progress on, I think, since the last time. I finished the body anyway. This is my Doppio sweater. The Doppio sweater is by Seunghee Hong. I am knitting the 3rd size, and this is a chunky sweater on a 6mm needle, so it's very fast, very easy. It is a compound raglan, So the rate of raglan changes and creates a really nice fit around the arms. So this is it. And I finished the body. So I'm very pleased with it. It's going to be a cozy, super warm, super soft, oversized, you know, winter kind of jumper. I finished the neckline, which is double folded. She has a couple of really fun techniques in here that I've never done before. And I think they're really clever, and I'm just interested to see how this one wears over time. I think that the designer has put a lot of attention to detail into this design. So yeah, I really like the pattern. Basically, I just have to do the arms. And this is another one where I'm probably going to set it to one side for a little while because it's going to be very warm. I don't need to wear it yet. And as I say, I have more urgent projects. But just to quickly point out the yarn that I'm using, because these are two very special yarns. This is one strand of the Prosper Yarn Epic, which is their really beautiful custom woolen spun 100% half bred New Zealand wool. And that color is called Twizel, which is more of this orangey, purpley, goldy sort of variegated yarn. And then the second yarn are these beautiful Surrey silk fluffy, it's a Surrey silk fluffy yarn from my friend Bonnie of Union Fibre. And this was a custom dye that she did for me. We did a trade at some point, and I sort of told her what kind of color I wanted, and then she did it custom for me, and I absolutely love it. And the two together, they're a little different on their own. I might insert a photo to show you the two yarns because I don't actually have the cakes with me. They look a little bit different, but I think together they complement beautifully. So really love this. Love how it's going. That's the update. It just needs sleeves, which I know I can do in, you know, 2 days or less. I just probably won't do it until I have sort of the time, but that is my Doppio sweater. Very happy with it. I know that we all have different knitting styles, but yeah, I'm definitely the kind of person who I work on, you know, a little bit on this, a little bit on that, a little bit on this. So there's a lot of progress on a lot of different things. And then yeah, it might be a little unsatisfying, but then 1 or 2 episodes from now, there will be a bunch of finished things all at once. So anyway, I like to keep it interesting and sort of have different things that I'm working on, and yeah. So the next one I wanted to give an update on is my frilly, what's it called? So Frilled Tee by Nicole Thorson Knits. And this pattern is meant to have frills on the bottom of the sleeves and also on the bottom of the shirt. But I decided to do it a little bit differently. Now, I mentioned this before, but the original pattern is in an alpaca yarn, and mine is in a 100% cotton yarn. So I have known from the beginning that my frills may not end up working out properly. And I'm okay with that because if the frills look weird, I will just rip them out and do ribbing or something, and then just have a plain t-shirt. But the yarn that I'm using is really lovely. It's the Sami organic Pima cotton from Amano. So this is the softest cotton I've ever used, and it's very silky and shiny. And yeah, we carry it here in the shop. It's a DK weight, but I would definitely say a light DK weight. So it's working for me at more of a sport weight gauge. And yeah, here's where I am with my shirt. So I think I mentioned this before. I was planning to add a frill to the neckline, so I didn't start with the ribbing. I just started past the ribbing, and I plan to pick it up later. I was planning to pick it up later to make a frill, but I'm not sure if the frill is working out. So I finished one sleeve, and I knit this one with half as much frill as the pattern suggests because I didn't want such an extreme frill. I'm not sure though if it's going to look good. I bound it off and everything. I left a little bit hanging in case I need to add more frill or, you know, change something. But I'm going to have to try it on and see how I like it. I haven't quite finished this sleeve yet, but I was going to knit this one as written with the same amount of frill that she has in the original pattern. And then I'll compare which one I like better and kind of decide what to do from there. I might try even I have a third idea of how to make a really subtle frill. And then if none of those work out, I'll just rip it out and do ribbing, like I said. Not a big deal. So what I might do, since I'm so close, I tried to finish this sleeve before filming, but I just ran out of time. I'm like a few rows away from finishing it. I may try to finish knitting this frill as written in the pattern and then insert a photo of some kind to kind of show you what the different frills look like. I'll certainly update you next time, because I'm sure by next time I will have figured it out and made a decision. And yeah, we'll see how we go. I think regardless of whether this ends up frilly or plain, I really, really like this color. Oh, I should have said the color is clay, 1806 clay. And I really like the color, and even if it just ends up being a more plain t-shirt, I think I'm going to really like it. So very happy with that. For me, with t-shirts, I like to get the sleeves and the neckline done first, because then I can just relax through the body and it feels like it's done before you know it. So that is the update on my So Frilled Tee. I'll let you know how I go with the frills, and yeah, we'll see. Okay, next I want to talk about socks. So I showed you before, these were my January socks. I have not made very much progress since the last episode, and I know why. It's just because whenever I do a textured sock or anything outside of the ordinary, it just tends to go more slowly, especially the first sock, because I'm making decisions. The second sock will be easy because I will already know exactly what to do, so I can do it more quickly, but I haven't made much progress on my January sock. That's where we're at. This is the yarn. I talked about it before. This is yarn from my hometown, Vroka, Wisconsin. It's called Ewetopia, and the base is called Wisco Sock, and the color is Hudson Valley, which is a place in New York, and I also grew up half my childhood in upstate New York, so this yarn is, yeah, it's perfect. So I love this yarn. I absolutely love this color. I'm sure that I will love these socks. I'm just, you know, slower on knitting them because they're different than my usual vanilla socks, but I'm not worried about it. I have until the end of this year before I'm worried about finishing these, so I'm going to just let them be, work on them when I want to, and not worry about it. But that is my January socks. Oh, and I should say, I'm just making up the pattern, but the stitch pattern that I'm doing is based on a vest design that I showed you last time, which I haven't published yet, but I have knit, and it has this lovely kind of waffly texture, and I have put that onto this sock. But as of now, there is no pattern. I am just making it up as I go. So, as I mentioned to you guys in the beginning of the year, I have an intention to finish 12 pairs of socks this year, which I know is doable because I finished 12 pairs last year. So I know I can do it. And I know that I will be more interested in sock knitting later in the year. I always knit 3 or 4 pairs in Socktober, you know, October, because we do our Socktober knit along. And I just get more interested in sock knitting later in the year when it's a bit colder. So I'm not worried about being behind. But I did say this year I wanted to cast on a pair every single month. Even if I don't finish them within that month. Clearly I didn't finish the January pair, but I still want to cast on a new pair every month. And then try to finish them all before the end of the year. So despite the sad status of my January sock, I realized on February 28th, oh my goodness, you know, February only has 28 days. So I really quickly decided I've got to cast on my February sock. It was the actual last day of February. And I had a couple of false starts. I wanted to make a handspun sock, but I cast on with 2 different of my old handspun yarns, but the gauge wasn't quite what I was expecting, so the stitch counts weren't quite right, and my handspun was a bit too thick, so I just scrapped those and decided I'm going to make a scrappy sock. So I have all these different balls of leftover sock yarns from other projects, and I thought I'll just make a scrappy sock. That will be fun and easy, and I know the gauge will work, so I don't have to worry about that. And that proved to be very true because I knit my first scrappy sock in just a couple days. Scrappy socks are so fun because, first of all, I think one of the biggest keys to knitting socks fast for me is stripes. Either a self-striping yarn or a self-patterning yarn of some kind, or making your own stripes, because it's just so fun getting to the next color, the next color. Plus I knew going into it I wanted 80 rows between my toe increases and my heel. I knew I wanted 80 rows, so I decided I wanted 8 colors, 10 rows each. And that just made it really easy to get through. I knew exactly how long I needed to go before starting the heel. And it was just super addictive to decide what color to do next. So on the bottom, there's 8 different colors. And then I just repeated them for the top. And then I have this cute little variegated sock mini from Prosper Yarn on the heel and the toe and the cuff. So yeah, they're scrappy, they're funky, they're not a perfect match color-wise, but I thought the colors kind of looked a bit cohesive anyway, and I really like them. So that is one of my February socks completed, yay. And my other secret to never having second sock syndrome, I mean, I don't have it anyway because, like I said, I think the second sock is easier because I've already made all the decisions, but the other thing I do is right when I finish the first one, I immediately start the second one. Then it's ready to go so that I can pick it up easily. So I did start the second one straight away, and that's just ready to go. So I have no doubt that those will be done pretty quickly because, yeah, scrappy socks are fun. So that is just a mix of different scrap yarns. Cast on February 28th. As I said, knit the first sock in, I think, 2 or 3 days, and I'm on track. I need to cast on my March socks next. Okay, quick update on my Aurora cabin shawl. I have not technically made a ton of progress because I only picked it back up again a couple days ago. So I will make more progress now. But as I mentioned last time, I got to the end. Well, let me start over. This is my Aurora cabin shawl. The designer is Stephen West. There we go. And I'm knitting this for our summer shawl along, which is going to be over at the end of March. So I actually need to try to hurry up. But I mentioned last time that I got to the end of the striped section, and this almost never happens to me. My stitch count was way off. It was 27 stitches below what it was supposed to be. And I double checked all of these sections. I had the right number of slip stitches in each section. I had the right number of repeats of all these sections. I checked everything. I had the right number of stripes, and I just couldn't for the life of me figure out what happened. So for a little while I put it down and ignored it because it was a mental block. And then I just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going and not worry about what happened. I think I wasn't so much worried about solving it, it was more confusion over why it happened in the first place. But then I just decided, who cares? I don't know why it happened, but here I am. And I just decided to, I didn't want to, there was already a big increase all at once, so I didn't want to also increase those extra 27 stitches because I didn't want the shape to suddenly look sort of uneven. So instead I just did a little bit of maths and figured out what the repeat needed to be, and I just increased a few extra stitches so that it would fit into the repeat. And perfect. Now I've been off and away and I'm back to working on another slip stitch section. So I'm loving the yarns, the colors. I've got a mix of different yarns. I've got Yarnfloozy, I've got Spincycle, I've got some Lana Grossa Setasuri, the fluffy stuff, and Manos del Uruguay, and Pearl Soho. All the info is in my Ravelry page, but I'm really loving this shawl. I love the pattern. To be honest, I don't love the slip stitch section. I don't love how many ends there are to weave in. I've already woven in all these ones. I just have to trim those after I block it. But I don't like weaving in ends as you go because I've never found a method that I really like the look of. So I'm not thrilled with how many times you're changing color, but the result is beautiful. and I'm not going to rush myself too much. If I don't finish in time for the end of our knit along, that's okay. But I am going to try to make as much progress as I can between now and the end of March. So anyways, that is my Aurora cabin shawl. Okay, the next one that I have made a good amount of progress on since last time is for the other knit along that I'm participating in, which is the Spincycle Metamorphic knit along. And so Spincycle are running a knit along based off of a pattern that Andrea Mowry put out several years ago, but which has always been one of my favorite of hers, which is the Metamorphic sweater, or yeah. And I've always wanted to knit this. I think I bought the pattern ages ago, so I was glad that they were hosting a cowl, because it was just enough to motivate me that now's the time to cast it on. So the yarns that I'm using are Spincycle dyed in the wool. Once again, this is our exclusive shop colorway, Miss Rumphius, my favorite color. And then my main color is Spincycle Versus. They don't do Versus anymore, but this was a 2-color marl. So this one is called Beats and Bears, and you have this very sort of bright acidic yellowy green marled together with a neutral gray, and together we have this kind of color combo. So I'm really happy with my colors. I love how it's looking. You knit it inside out. So this is my progress. You're knitting it inside out, but then you end up wearing it the other direction, and the other direction looks so cool. The reverse side of 1x1 stripes looks really cool, I think. And so I've made quite a lot of progress on the body here. This is it. Hope you can see it. So yeah, I just love to see how the Spincycle changes color. It has this nice slip stitch detail down the front and the back, and also down the sleeves, which looks really nice. And yeah, I'm very pleased. I don't have too much further in the body, a couple more inches I think, and then I'll be ready for the ribbing, and then I just have to do sleeves. So this is another one where I think the knit along ends at the end of March, and I'm not too fussed about finishing on time, but it is nice to have that little bit of motivation to kind of get you to make progress on something. So I am going to also try to make more progress on that one. So that's my Metamorphic. Now we're in the territory of new cast-ons. Well, the sock was a new cast-on too, but I have another new cast-on. So we ended up getting a new summer yarn, kind of for various reasons. We kind of didn't end up getting it until closer to the end of summer, but it is a 4-ply 100% linen, which I was very excited about, and it's BC Garn Lino, or Lino, which is, as I say, 4-ply, fingering weight, 100% linen. And it's really interesting because a little different to the Erica Knight, which I've talked about before, is already super smooth. This is a more classic linen where it feels pretty crunchy. I don't know, it feels a bit straw-like in the skein, although it's already softening up just from rolling around in my bag. But these are the BC Garn Lino. And I thought, I'd been toying with the idea of doing low contrast stripes, and I just thought black and brown stripes was such a cool idea. So I've got black, brown, the colors are number 65 is the black, and number 32 is this brown, which is called Zauberball, I think. And yeah, I'm just doing these sort of wide stripes. So because of the gauge that I wanted, I ended up choosing the Amano Sami pattern by Petite Knit, which is a very lovely pattern for just a relatively classic looking summer t-shirt. The shaping looks nice. It's a raglan. Her version has thinner patterns of stripes. And for mine, I knew I wanted these kind of thick, wide stripes. So I'm just following her pattern for all of the stitch counts and everything like that. But instead, I'm doing these wide stripes. And here's my progress. So I'm very excited about this one. I think it's going to be really nice. It's an interesting yarn to try because from everything I've read and heard and seen, it softens up a ton when you wash it. So I'm expecting that. But currently it still has a sort of strange feel to it. Surprisingly, I am enjoying the process of knitting with it. I thought I wouldn't, but I actually find it to be a sort of a pleasing feeling. It has a sort of, it feels sort of firm and a bit straw-like, but it also has something about it that's almost a little bit waxy, maybe that's the word. There's a certain grip to it, and I'm actually enjoying how it feels on my needles, which is great because this shirt I've made pretty quick progress on once I cast it on. And I'm using a 3mm needle, so that was kind of the gauge I wanted to try for this yarn. I didn't want it to be at all see-through. I just wanted a really smooth, tight fabric, and I think that that will be achieved. And I'm knitting the medium size of the Amano Sami. And yeah, I grabbed three balls of the brown, 3 balls of the black, and I think that should be more than enough for this t-shirt. So yeah, that is my Amano Sami. And yeah, I'm just making progress here and there. When I first cast it on, I made a lot of progress very quickly, and now I'm just back and forth again because I've got the other projects going on, but I'm enjoying it a lot, and I'm very, very kind of interested to see just how the yarn will change over time with washing and wear, because linen is supposed to just get better and better with wash and wear. And I have experienced that with other linens I've used, so I do think that will be the result, which is very exciting. Okay, I've got one more very sort of straightforward new cast on. So this is just a shop sample. I was going through our shop samples here, and I just thought we didn't have enough baby samples, so I wanted to make a Little Brothers romper. It's a pattern by Petite Knit. I love it. It's just a very basic sort of baby onesie. There's Little Sisters romper as well, which is in a 4-ply or fingering weight yarn, and then there's Little Brothers romper, which is a worsted weight. And I just wanted to make a little sample for the shop because we also carry Petite Knit printed patterns, and we have that pattern printed. So then someone can look at our sample, they can get the pattern through us, they can get the yarn here, it all works out. So I grabbed one skein of the Malabrigo Rios. This is always a popular yarn, and it's 100% superwash merino. A lot of people like superwash for babies because it's just easy care. It's super soft and lovely, and I like this color. The color is called Yerba. So it's just kind of a soft sagey green. And you only need one skein. And I cast on the 4 to 6 month size, which is the 3rd size, I believe. And I've made this project before for my niece. It's so easy. And I've also made the Little Sisters one. I find it super easy as a pattern to follow and just adorable. So if you're looking for a good, I guess, basic onesie pattern, this is the one for sure. So this is my progress so far. I just cast this on yesterday. That's just the little bottom of the onesie, and then there will be buttons in the front, and you go up the body, and there's little straps and buttons, and yeah, Little Brothers romper. So I'm just working on that when I have time. It's just a very simple, I'm in the easy part where I'm going round and round stockinette on the body, so should be done in no time, I reckon. Otherwise, I'm knitting some new swatches for the shop and some new yarns we're getting in. That's not very interesting to show, but planning a few more shop samples as well with those swatches. And that is it for projects I currently have on. I brought one more thing to show you, which is some handspun that I finished recently, and this handspun is a sock spin. So, oh, I didn't even take notes, did I? I'm not very good at taking notes of my spinning, but I had one of my favorite things to do with spinning is to take 2 different hand-dyed fiber braids, spin them separately, and then marl them together. I love the effect of that. And so I had 2 different braids. Each of them were about 100 grams. The first one was, I'm not sure if I have pictures of all this, by the way. If I do find some, I'll insert them, but I haven't been very good with pictures of fiber. The first one was sort of a dark, moody red and maroon brownish color, and it was 100% Haunui fiber from a lady who doesn't dye fiber anymore, but I used to buy her fiber, and she was called Heavenly Wools. So I had that for years. And then I also I get a monthly fiber subscription from Amy, who is Handmaiden. She has a really lovely hand-dyed fiber subscription, and I signed up for that, I don't know, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I've been getting it for ages. I love it. I find it to be, it's a small enough amount of money. I don't even think about it every month. And then every month I just get this, it's just on a subscription. So like I said, I don't think about it, but every month I suddenly get this fun little package with some beautiful hand-dyed fiber. And I really like Amy's Fiber Club. The colors are always different. The fibers are different. You know, you really get a variety. You get Polworth, Merino, sock blends, Haunui, silk blends, Corriedale, things I'm not thinking of, but really interesting different fibers that you get to try. And also, as I say, the colors are always different, and it's just really fun to see every month kind of what the colors will be. I like the surprise element. So I've got quite a stash of Amy's fiber. I've got to get through and do some spinning. But anyway, one of those braids was a merino nylon sock blend, and it was in these kind of like yellow, orange, and also a lot of white and light colors, very autumnal. And then I took, as I say, the dark red and then those kind of lighter autumn colors and marled them together, and I got this big old skein. So this is the skein. I did just wash it, so it's been all washed and thwacked, and it's kind of puffed up a bit, but I think the colors are really pretty. I hope you can see them. And yeah, I spun it to be, so obviously the merino nylon is meant for socks. The Haunui isn't explicitly meant for socks, but I think with the strand of the sock marled in, I'm going to use it for socks anyway, see how they go. And I know the Haunui has a longer staple than some breeds anyway, so I think it should be good. And yeah, I think I have like at least 200 grams of this, so I don't need nearly that much for socks, but I'm actually thinking this will be my March socks because I have been craving another hand spun project. I just really want to knit with my hand spun, and I love hand spun socks. So yeah, that is my hand spun. It should be a sock weight thickness, hopefully. Sometimes I think it's one thing, and then when I start knitting it's another, but no, it feels like sock weight. So yeah, so maybe I'll cast that on soon, and those will be my March socks. So I bet next episode you will be seeing some hand spun sock progress. Okay, that is everything I have to show today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your lovely comments, for your encouragement. I've had some people coming into the shop who've watched the videos. That is just the coolest thing. Feel free to always ask me questions if you want to. I'll do my best to answer them, and let me know what you're working on. I love to hear the projects that you're getting into. And as always, let me know if there's other topics you'd like to see, other types of videos, themes, etc. I've heard a few requests to do a video all about my ranunculuses, so I've got that in the back of my head. I think I'll plan to do that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye!